Some people say to me that all politicians are the same, that it doesn't matter who's running the country or who your local MP is. Well, today I'm going to be travelling around the constituency looking at some of the things that I've done over the last 5 years working with local residents to make this town a better place. And hopefully, at the end of the day, I'll be able to show you what a difference it makes having a good local MP, someone who's from the area, who works hard, who's passionate about changing our great town for the better. One of the first things that happened just a few days after I was elected as an MP back in 2010 is that I was contacted overnight by thousands of Crystal Palace fans worried that Lloyd's TSB were going to put the club into liquidation. I contacted the bank and also the government ministers responsible for it, and together with the club's fans I was able to convince them not to do that. Since then the club's been taken over and it's gone from strength to strength, but it was great to be able to play a small part working with the club's fans to secure its long-term future. So it's now 9:40 and I'm here outside the emergency department at Croydon University Hospital to look at a more recent achievement. One of the big challenges we've got here in Croydon is our rising population, making sure that our infrastructure improves to cope with that. And I've been working with the management here at the hospital to get funding for a brand new emergency department, larger, more modern, that can provide better care, £20 million from the government to build it, and work is literally just about to get underway. Really important news for the town and a sign of my personal commitment and the government's commitment to our precious National Health Service. So it's 10 o'clock now, and from a big achievement that benefits everybody living in the borough of Croydon to a smaller one that's specific to people living in this road. Got contacted by residents living here in Watcombe Road in South Nord, really unhappy about the traffic situation in their road, heavily parked road, cars coming both ways, confrontation all the time, arguments in the street. So got a petition together, took it to Croydon Council, and this road has now been made one way, dealing with the traffic problem. The job of an MP involves both these things, big issues affecting the whole borough, but also helping people in individual streets with the issues that they're facing. So it's now 10 past 10 and I'm here outside the Robert Fitzroy Academy on Davidson Road in Addiscombe. I talked earlier at the hospital about the importance of improving our infrastructure to cope with our growing population, and exactly the same is true in relation to school places. In the 5 years that I've been the MP, we've had 7 times as much funding from the government here in Croydon to build new school places than we did in the previous 5 years. And this school and many other new schools and school expansions across the constituency are evidence of the difference that's making. If I'm re-elected, I'll carry on working hard to make sure that we're getting the money to ensure that every parent has a good local school place on offer. It's now 20 past 10 and I'm here in central Croydon. Behind me is the Ruskin Square site where there is concrete evidence of the difference this government's economic policies are making. This site has lain vacant throughout my entire life, and now new homes and soon new offices rising from the ground. Weather's not very nice today, but when I was here the other day with George Osborne, the sun was shining and I got to meet one of the many young people in Croydon who've benefited from the apprentices this government has set up. Over the 5 years when I've been the local MP, the number of people out of work in this area has gone down by a half. And with the Westfield investment soon to come, there is a real chance that if we stick to the plan that's working, we can achieve the dream of full employment, a job for everybody here in Croydon that wants one. So it's now just 5 minutes later and I'm just up the path here at the new entrance to East Croydon Station. One of the common themes today is going to be the need for new infrastructure to cope with our growing population. Exactly the same is true for our rail system as for our schools and our hospital. And I helped to secure funding from Network Rail to get this new entrance here, the northern entrance to East Croydon Station, built. What we need to do next is get a connection to this bridge from Cherry Orchard Road so that residents from Addiscombe can get access to the northern end of the platforms, and also so that we have a pedestrian link right across the railway. It's now 20 to 11. I'm here on Wellesley Road. Behind me is the Whitgift Centre, and I'm here to talk about what is probably my biggest achievement. working with Boris Johnson and Croydon Council to bring Hammerson and Westfield, two of the country's leading retail developers, to the town. Over the next few years, the Whitgift Centre is going to be demolished and rebuilt, going to bring top brands like John Lewis to Croydon, have some sensible parking pricing, and that's not just great news for people that want to shop here. It's also going to change Croydon's reputation. It's going to encourage some of those major firms to relocate their offices back here, bringing the professional jobs we need. But all of this will only happen if we stick to the economic plan nationally that is working. If our economy goes back into recession, then all of that investment is put at risk. So the biggest achievement, it's on the verge of happening. We need to make sure that it actually does over the next few years. So it's now nearly 11 o'clock and I'm here in Park Hill. One of the key things about my job is sometimes getting Croydon Council to see sense when it comes up with a bad idea. And there are actually two different stories here. Where the council was under Conservative control, it looked at extending the parking restrictions here in Park Hill from early in the morning to late in the evening. Lots of residents very unhappy about that, and I worked with them to get the council to see sense. And now that we have a Labour council, they recently published a document looking to build on some of our precious school playing fields. Again, lots of residents feeling very unhappy about that. I got a petition together, and thankfully they've now drawn back from that crazy plan. You know, our young people need these precious spaces to get some exercise. There's plenty of brownfield land in the central Croydon we could build on. We should not be looking at building on our precious school playing fields. So it's now 10 past 11 and I'm here in Monks Hill, which is the part of the constituency I know really well because I used to live just over in Lehman Gardens over there. And I'm here to talk about one of the things I've done over the course of the 5 years, which is spending time actually work shadowing in local public services, in businesses, to see what people delivering services or trying to create jobs are actually experiencing at the grassroots level. And I'm here in front of Redgate School, which is probably the most moving week I've spent, a school for children with special educational needs, and I just spent a week there helping out in each of the classrooms, seeing the incredible dedication of the staff that work there and the amazing children. And it's a really important part of my job because if you're not careful as an MP, you can get cut off from the people that you're representing. So spending that time every year doing work in hospitals, in schools, in businesses, in the constituency has been a really important part of the job over the last 5 years. So I'm just a couple of hundred metres up the road now in front of the Quest Academy on Farnborough Avenue. I've talked earlier about money for new school places, but as well as that I've been working hard to try and get funding to improve the existing school buildings. This used to be Selsdon High and it's been taken over by the Coloma Trust, now the Quest Academy. Standards have risen a lot, but the building was incredibly dilapidated. We got £14.5 million from the government to improve it. I'm here with Azar, who's the head boy at the school. So Azar, tell us what difference the new building has made to pupils at the school.
I mean, you mentioned £14.5 million. These are not £14.5 million just for new resources, but also for new opportunities for young people. We've got new resources, as mentioned, and that not only helps students, but also teachers to have a more respectful and a more cohesive learning environment, and it's raised our standards dramatically. And we are very grateful to the government and for your work for getting us this sort of money for this excellent new building, which is helping a lot of students get on in life.
It's great to hear, and better luck in your exams that are coming up shortly.
Thank you.
It's now 10 past 1, the sun is shining. I've taken a break from the tour around the constituency because I've been here at John Ruskin for a hustings meeting, answering questions from young people voting potentially for the first time at this election. And it's one of the things I've tried really hard to do over the last 5 years. Spent a lot of time visiting schools and colleges and youth groups to talk to young people about politics. There's actually a really great story to tell here at John Ruskin, as you can probably see from the sign behind me. When I became an MP, this was a college that was struggling. Today, it's been rated as outstanding by Ofsted. I'm not going to take any credit for that. Great work from the leadership of the college, the staff here, and also the pupils. And it's a story you see right across Croydon of our FE colleges and sixth form colleges doing a much better job, giving much greater prospects for our young people going forward. So it's now 2 o'clock and I'm back in central Croydon outside the offices of the charity Mind here to talk about one of the things that I'm most proud of over the last 5 years, which is the private members bill that I took through Parliament, the Mental Health Discrimination Act, to try and tackle the stigma attached to mental ill health. Sadly, lots of people, when they get ill, don't feel able to tell their employer, their doctor, sometimes even their family and friends. So I'm here today to have a chat with Richard Pashiti, who's the Director of Mind here in Croydon. It's a charity I've worked very closely with, raised money for. They do really great work for people that have got mental health conditions here in Croydon, and it's been a pleasure to work with them over the last 5 years. So it's 2:35, I'm now in Shirley, here in front of Shirley Library. That's the part of the constituency I know best because it's where I grew up. And the story here is about a proposal that the then Conservative Council came up with a few years ago to close a number of our libraries. Sometimes when you're the MP, it's important to stand up to people in your own party if you think they haven't got it right. And I work with Spring Park Residents Association and local residents to convince the council to change its mind. Libraries are really important for our children and our pensioners in particular, and it's great to see that despite the tough decisions Croydon Council's had to make, all of our libraries have remained open. So it's now 3 o'clock and I'm in a different bit of the constituency here in Addington. Behind me you can see the fields at the bottom of Gravel Hill, and I've just been talking to Alan Chitty from the local Residents Association, working with them to try and keep these green fields as a precious green space. There's a housing developer talking to the council about building housing here. The Labour Council haven't given a clear assurance, and what I've been trying to do is work with the Residents Association, with other local residents, to make sure we keep this vital green corridor. Not just here actually, but all across the constituency, trying to protect our green spaces. There's plenty of brownfield land in the town centre, and that's where the housing that we so desperately need ought to go. So it's now 3:20 and I'm up here in New Addington in the southeastern corner of my constituency. Here behind me you've got one of the 3 recycling centres in the borough, and I'm here because the Labour Council came up with a crazy plan to close this centre, build housing on it without providing a replacement centre. I started a petition against that, and I'm delighted they've seen sense and changed their minds and said that if they do put housing here, there will be a new centre opening up somewhere else in the area. The recycling rate in Croydon under the Conservative Council went up very significantly. We want to continue that work. We want to make it as easy as possible for residents to recycle their waste. If you get rid of vital facilities like this, all that's going to happen is the fly tipping problem that we've already got in the borough is going to get even worse. So it was great to work with local residents to get the council to see sense over this centre behind me. So it's now 3:30, I'm here just by Central Parade. Behind me you can see one of the brand new trams that I lobbied for funding for from Boris Johnson. Tramlink is one of the best things about Croydon, a modern, environmentally friendly system, but we needed to increase the capacity to cope with our rising population, and long term we need to extend the system as well. And so this is another great example of lobbying for the extra infrastructure that we need to cope with our growing population. It's now 20:04 and I'm on Headley Drive in New Addington to talk about another achievement that I'm really, really proud of, and that is the work I've done with others to put Lillian's Law on the statute book. Natasha and Gary Groves, who live on this road, their daughter Lillian was killed outside their home by a driver under the influence of drugs. And the individual concerned was prosecuted, sent to jail, and was back out on the streets just a few months later. They came to see me, I raised the issue at Prime Minister's Questions, took them to meet the Prime Minister in 10 Downing Street, and now we've got Lillian's Law on the statute book, tougher punishment for people that take illegal drugs and then drive. And I want to pay tribute to the Groves family and to the Croydon Advertiser who worked with me to get this important change into law.
He worked extremely hard on getting where we've got. And if it hadn't have been for him, and I think obviously the Croydon Ad, working alongside with Gavin, would we be where we are today? And I possibly don't think we would. I think a lot of credit goes to Gavin, all his hard work, being in touch with the right people.
That made it done.
Yeah, that made a huge difference.
Yep.
I mean, if it hadn't have been for Gavin, we would have never met David Cameron. He arranged all that. And actually, everything that he's done, we can't thank him enough. I'm quite honoured to actually class him as one of our friends, a very close friend.
Yeah.
You never think you're going to meet these people, and actually when you do meet these people, they become lifelong friends.
It's now 5 to 4 and I'm here in Addington Village in front of the Addington Village Police Station to talk about the changes we've secured in terms of police funding. I've worked with Steve O'Connell, who's our local London Assembly member, to get the formula change that the Metropolitan Police use to distribute their budget across the 32 boroughs in London, and as a result Croydon got 110 extra police officers. That's made a real difference on our streets. We've seen crime fall by 10% over the last year. There's still more work to do. There's still some areas of the constituency where crime is too high, but it's great that we're getting a much fairer allocation of the police budget now. So it's 10 past 4 and I'm now in Forestdale, here in front of Forestdale School, to talk about some important changes that I've helped to deliver in terms of school funding. The formula the government uses to divide up the schools budget around the country under Labour treated Croydon really unfairly. So we've got that formula changed this April. The Croydon schools budget saw a 6% increase, well above the rate of inflation. And if we get a Conservative government re-elected at the general election on Thursday, we're going to see a move to a full national funding formula, which should mean an even fairer share of the national cake for Croydon schools. And that makes a big difference to teachers, to pupils, in terms of the resources our schools have. So it's one of the big changes we've had over the last few years. So it's 5 o'clock and we're now back in the town centre, and I've just been having a coffee with a number of the young people that have done work experience in my office over the last 5 years. Something I'm particularly proud of. Nearly 200 local young people from schools and colleges in the constituency have had the chance to spend some time with me at Westminster, see what the job involves, and hopefully give them a helping hand as well in terms of the courses they're thinking of studying at university or going on to get their first job. So it's been a real privilege, and if I get re-elected I want to take that further and actually set up a sort of work experience programme involving other employers as well, to ensure that all of our young people get a great chance to get a good first job in life.
I enjoyed most spending lunch with Gavin, getting a whole hour to talk to him about his different views and why I got involved in politics, that sort of thing. I found it really, really useful and very, very interesting.
I found the whole experience of being at Westminster amazing, just being able to see all of the big buildings and Big Ben, and also seeing how the MPs interacted with each other.
It gave me the best starting point to my career in politics, as well as an insight to how the industry works. So I'm thankful that Gavin gave me the opportunity, because it's been the best one I've had so far.
So it's 10 to 6, this is the final stop on the tour. We're back here now by East Croydon Station to talk about the biggest challenge that I faced as the MP, and that's the riots that took place in 2011. One of the really key things about my job is trying to work with other politicians to get funding into the town, and I'm delighted to have the Mayor of London here who helped us so much.
And I'm thrilled to be here supporting Gavin, who did a fantastic job getting investment into Croydon after the riots, and of course not only that, getting the London Road going, all that, but getting Westfield going, one of the biggest developments we're going to see in our city, probably in the 21st century. A huge, huge achievement for Croydon, the third city of London, and Gavin Barwell leading in Croydon.
Thank you for watching this video. It's been a huge honour to represent my hometown in Parliament for the last 5 years. I hope I've shown you in this video that having a good local MP really does make a difference. I'd love to carry on working to change our town for the better, but whether I get the chance to do that is for you to decide in tomorrow's election.